like to say thank you for coming, and especially you, because I think that this is a great chance for the artists to have a proper conversation on what really matters. And Vienna Independent Shorts has this is the second edition of the Artist Talk, and you all are present in the Animation Avant-Garde competition. So I think we could get also in some questions about animation avant-garde and moving image. But the main goal of this Artist Talk is actually to figure out whether whether it's important to divide filmmakers and artists, and how it is actually working with you in your countries and in your creative biography. So it would be really nice if you could actually introduce a little bit to your work. And here we have Bonnie Mitchell and Lele and Naomi Perret. Oh, I'm
Naïme Perret.
Sorry, Naomi Perret. So there's USA, China, and France. So it's a nice mixture of different kind of cultural contexts, and also I think institutional differences in your countries. And I am actually, you're the ones who are making trouble for the curatorial work and programmers, and I'm one of those who's actually a programmer and a curator for both fine arts and film. So I think we will have a fruitful discussion now. So please bring your questions to me as well. So let's start with Bonnie.
Oh wait, I can.
Ah, yes. Sorry. But could you please also, when you are introducing like a short biography of your creative biography, then could you please underline also whether you are exhibited in galleries more or participating in screenings and film festivals? It would be interesting to know what is the main field where you get your audience. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Bonnie Mitchell, and from the United States. I'm actually working as a professor and fine artist and a few other things too. And the work that I do that's at least being screened at this festival is visual music, not music video, but visual music. And so essentially it's visualizing the music or working with a composer where the music is not just to support the animation, it's an integral part of what I'm trying to say. So the audio is very important. I've actually worked with this composer, her name is Eleni Lilios, on a number of different levels. And so she is a composer and she creates the music, electronic experimental music. I create the visuals, but they have been displayed in a number of different ways. And so sometimes it's in a theater, that to us that's the easiest way, to tell you the truth, because we can just send it over the internet to the festival, or put it on a DVD. But we've also done a number of animated experiences, installations. So you walk into the space and the animations are projected on elements throughout the space, and you have to walk through, and there's sensors that detect where you are, 8-channel audio or ambisonic audio, multi-channel. And so in that case, the work is displayed in museums, galleries, at conferences. In regards to the visual music that we do, it's really interesting working with a composer because this week it's being shown here in VIS. Last week it was shown in Cyprus at a music composition concert, okay? And so my work has been shown in concerts a lot. They will have performers up there performing various pieces that contemporary composers have done, and they might have one or two visual music pieces. And a lot of my work's been shown there probably over 50 times in this sort of a context. And sometimes my pieces are shown in film festivals, sometimes purely animation festivals, sometimes animation screenings associated with conferences or symposia. So kind of a wide range of venues.
What about World Wide Web? Do you actually publish your work for the whole world audience?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I was just viewing the animations in the animation screening room. You know, I've seen them on the large screen, but I wanted to see them again. And my piece is all garbled, completely blotchy. And so I have a technical background, and I understand compression, and I have tried many, many times to use the YouTube and Vimeo compression, but because my work is tiny little particles, just little specks, the technical aspects of the compression schemes destroy it. It looks like big blotches. So I have a history as a net artist, an internet artist. I go all the way back to 92 was my first internet project, and I've done these huge worldwide projects. But when it comes to my films, I cannot put them on the internet. And I have nothing against it. I would put them all out there for free, but the compression schemes destroy them. And so that's how I feel about that. Yeah, sorry.
Well, we could come back to this question actually later on, but thank you. Please, Lele, introduce to yourself.
Introduce myself.
No, a little bit. Just could you please underline the different kind of ways how your work goes to the public, whether it's exhibition, film screenings, or it's internet. So, and also a little bit about your creative biographies.
Actually, I don't know. Should I call myself artist or community? How to say community artist or medium artist? Because I don't have arts background education. I learned about design when I was at school. I like animation just because it's my warmly memories. Because when I was a kid, I watched a lot of animation by Shanghai Animation Studio. It's very famous in China, and I don't like a lot commercial animation right now. And so when I do the animation, I just start to think about it. Because just like I do a lot of colorful animation, I found sometimes when I do not do the storyboard or the script before I do it. But finally, I found I just, when I do the animation, I just think about what is happened in the end. It's like industry to make up the, how to say, a goods, how to say, just like produce something from the factory. Of course, I do the independent film, but I don't like this way to do. I hope I could have some more freedom. That's why I do the recycle this kind of film. I don't know if it's like experimental film, but when I do the recycled, I don't have I don't know what will happen in the end. I just build some rules and have something discuss with Thomas Suven, my partner. We just build up the rules and make the animation happen by itself. So it's happened, and that's why it's totally different from my other films.
But where does your work usually end up? In festivals or in galleries, or where do we usually can see it?
Sorry for my English. Maybe I missed the key. I hope my film could be screening on the big screen in the cinema. But right now, mostly my film is in the festival, and sometimes it's in China, is in some gallery or something. But I don't think it's good way to show my animation. I hope my film could be in the cinema or in TV set or somewhere or in internet. But they have some problem in China because if you hope to screening it, you need some logo from government. But I'm independent. I can't have it. So that's why my film could not happen in cinema. sometimes it's good screening in cinema because of France embassy or some cotton event. Then I could screen in my film. But if for myself, I can't do that. It's the same problem for the TV set and for the internet. I'm very afraid about the Chinese copyright. If I upload it, people got it for free, and a lot of copyright problem will happen. So right now, I only upload it on Vimeo. I don't hope it's happened in Chinese internet because I'm sorry, maybe I'm not a fashion guy, so I'm very afraid about the copyright. So the only way in China is to screening in the gallery. I think it's not good. I hope more and more people can got it, but it's the problem in China, so maybe it could be better in the future. Yeah.
So
For me, I haven't had work shown in galleries yet, but I would say that it really depends on which work. Like some work which would be more narratives. I don't want them to be in galleries because when it's built with an evolution, I think it's wasting the work to bump into it in the middle of the work, and you think you get a sense of it, but you lose and you leave and you finally didn't really get what it could be about. And so I think the display is is included in the way you're working, in the way you think about your work. I don't make such I don't need to define myself more as an artist or more as a filmmaker because my mind doesn't work in such a different way when I do films or more art pieces. So it's not really in the nature. On the nature of the media, but of the display. More. And so for until now, I'm really in the beginning. I'm really in the beginning of my career because I finished my studies in 2012, and my work which will be shown here, is my thesis film. And now I am in an art residency, so I moved a bit from the animation and film world to fine art as far as the environment and the way of working, I guess. But now the film I'm finishing now, this is actually my main wonder about how I want it to be seen, and I built it as a film, so I was hoping it to be seen the more widely possible. Like if it would be TV, that would have been great. But the content of the film, which is it's a documentary about fishermen and their life come as a cycle, and in the film you have a lot of loops that comes back about the life. And so now I see my work with other eyes. I'm thinking that it can be that could be acceptable to be shown in a gallery, because for this particular film you could see the life repeat as well. If you start by the end and then see the beginning, that would not lose the sense of the film.
Okay, so actually I was having one of the questions that I would like to ask is also about the way whether you think and when is the point when you start to think about how the film will be presented. When you start the project, you have the urge to create something. It's marvelous, it's beautiful, but then you come to the point when you have to decide, okay, I need funding. So in your country, how is it? Do you usually use film funding? Is it divided, or it's audiovisual funding and things like that? A little bit of finances, please. Yeah, we can start with one.
Well, I'm fortunate in that I have a job that pays me a paycheck. And the other advantage of working in academia is that they have internal grants that I can apply for. And unfortunately, these grants take a lot of time to fill out. And for the arts, you get a very small amount of money, and it's equally as much work as if you were in the sciences. So you still have to fill out like a 10-page report, and you might only get $1,000, whereas a scientist would fill out the 10-page report and get $1 million. And so there's a big discrepancy. I also apply for commission awards, and state and national governments have grants for artists, but it's becoming fewer and fewer. It really is. And so they're quite competitive. A lot of my work I just fund out of my own pocket, my paycheck. I put into the arts. And so, but I did put together some notes, maybe not on my personal experience, but in the United States, some of the issues related to funding. So I'll take this moment and just talk a little bit about these. There's something called the MacArthur Foundation. MacArthur had a lot of money, and he was very interested in creativity. So there's a lot of different sorts of awards that they give, and grants and residencies and that sort of thing to reward creativity. But the MacArthur Award related to film is for narrative films, documentaries. They really focus on journalism. And it can be a little bit creative, but they really want it to be clear for the average viewer to understand the story, So they're not very flexible in regards to experimental films. The National Endowment for the Arts, highly, highly competitive. But they are willing to entertain very experimental films, even films that might be integrating the internet in a real interesting way, or films that are meant for iPhones, or sort of alternative media. So that's a possibility. And the three things that I wanted to bring to the table here is a number of people in the last, I would say 5 years, have been using crowdfunding to fund their films. And I see this a lot in America. Essentially, they use Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and there's a brand new one that I just discovered that I may use on my next film. It's called Seed and Spark. Are you guys familiar with Seed and Spark? Okay, this is kind of a new concept in that the filmmaker can go in there and register their project and propose what they want to do, and then they have a wish list. Things that they want. Maybe they need a location. Maybe they need some equipment. Maybe they need actresses, whatever. So they have their wish list, and then the viewer can come in there and they can follow a film, the production of the film, or they can buy certain things from the filmmaker to, maybe they're buying T-shirts and they're putting money towards the film. Or
is it available also for the rest of the world, or only USA artists?
I believe so. I didn't see anything that said it was restricted to America. No, it's fairly new. I think it's within the last year. And so the filmmaker can earn a lot of money towards their film. Sparks. They're called Sparks. And that's by sharing what they're interested in with their friends. And so then when they get more sparks, lots of sparks, that enables them to watch films. So they have films in a protected part of the website. And when you earn so many sparks, now you have access to those films so that you can watch the films. We'll see if it turns out to be successful, but it's primarily for filmmakers and experimental, animators, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of excited about that. So,
wow. Wow, it's so many information. Maybe I should take a photo. I don't know how to say, because for me from China, I don't think they have so many way to make money to do your own work, and I think there are no foundation or grant in China because a lot of independent filmmaker they found money in the United States or very important is in France. They found some produce or foundation in France to do the independent film. I think Jia Zhangke or some Lou Ye, some very important independent filmmaker, they do like this. And right now, more and more filmmakers found money out of China, because for me, I don't know how to have money to help me to do my film in China. It's very sad. So what can I do? Just like this, I do some research to do the. I hope to apply for some residence project and apply for some foundation to help me in France. But it's of course it's very hard and it's and you need to wait. And I have to do the residency in American for McDowell and Yaddo, and I applied for the call for project in Annecy Festival, but I failed so many times. So I'm also waiting for the chance. And on the other hand, maybe because right now China is developed so fast, there are so many rich people in China. I want to say so. In another way, maybe you can't find foundation or you can't find money from the government or from very good way. But maybe because a lot of people is super rich, some big boss, and they don't know how to use their money. So right now I heard some independent filmmaker they got money from the rich people. Maybe it's his friend or maybe it's some big stuff. So they got money very faster than you apply for the foundation in Western countries. But it's very surprising and very exciting. So maybe some good way and some good thing and some bad thing happened in China. So it's very exciting country. Yeah.
Hope. and so, yeah.
In France, there is a lot of film funding, but it's just very selective, of course, but also very long. So as far as I'm concerned, until up and now, I just wanted to make my idea when I had it. So I was working as an animator, so I had a bit of money, and I was just starting to do my film without waiting for funding. But it's also because I didn't have to raise a lot of money for my project. I didn't need a lot of material. I didn't need actors, so that was easy. And so, but otherwise, yeah, but the film funding is good in France. But also, as she said, is fiction and documentary can have a lot of money. But I haven't seen yet funding especially for art films. But there are some grants, some little grants, but it's separate money from the film funding. And now I am based in Amsterdam, and I am in a residency for 2 years, so I have a grant as an artist for 2 years. And we've been introduced we have documentation from the film funding there, and they do have a separate jury for art films, and it can be very high. Actually, you can you need to get to apply there. It's better if you already have an opportunity to show it. If you really show your project as a solid project that will arrive in a museum. That if you have partnership with a museum, yeah, with any curator, that would help. And so yeah, it's for my further project, I will look actually for my art films. I will look for the grants from the Netherlands.
Well, they have a special funding. There's film and there's
For the art film,
artist
yeah.
and art
Yeah.
film funding.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it's a great system.
It's a great, yeah, but I also think that sometimes not waiting and not passing by all this process give also another energy to your film. And there are some films that have been made quite recently in France, in the suburbs, with a €1 budget, and that have actually way more life than all the film that pass by the same system in the French film. Yeah, because also in France, it's the cinema families staying so much between each other that in the end, yeah, we're waiting for freshness, I would say. It's changing, but so yeah.
Okay, so I think we can agree that you just need to find the ways, and I guess for in your cases, then it's not that important how you present yourself as a filmmaker or an artist. It depends on the project that you're writing, probably, and you can actually live with that. But then there is the moment when you want to show your work to the others, and there is a certain difference between being to get actually in a gallery because they have their own names that they usually would take, and for a youngster it's not that easy to get in the in Whitechapel, for example, but in short film world it's more democratic. Do you do you have anything that you could add to this statement, because from your own experience? So do you feel that the short film world and festivals and being presented as a filmmaker is a little bit more easy and democratic, and what do you think about it?
I kind of find that question difficult to answer because I've never been a traditional filmmaker, so I don't have that experience. I definitely come from the fine arts background, and so my early work was displayed in museums and galleries. I sort of started there, and I would say being shown in film festivals and the cinema and that sort of thing, that's fairly new in my career. And so I'm coming from the opposite direction. And I'm not young either, so when I was young, I was doing a completely different body of work, and it was gaining attention, but for a different reason, and it wasn't often shown in galleries and museums because I was doing a lot of net art, internet art, in the real early 90s. And at the same time, I was doing immersive installation art. And so those two things, and it always included animation. But then to just make a single channel piece is a new development for me. Okay, just in the last, I'd say 10 years, 8 years, I started working with single channel.
But why did you start to work with single channel? Because it seems like it brings you closer to the film world in a way. And was that a decision that you actually made because you wanted to be screened in cinemas, or?
That's well, you were talking about funding, so now we're going to mix the funding issue with. Oh, that's okay. The answer relates to funding. It really does, because I did an installation that cost $50,000 to do, and I pretty much funded that by just borrowing equipment and begging and writing 10-page grants for $200, and it was so much work. And any time that I had to show this, I would have to ship it to the places. Or one time I drove it 20 hours, a 20-hour drive. My car was so full of equipment for this installation. the roof was all filled up, the back. And on the way back from this 20-hour trip, my colleague and I, my composer friend, we said, we have got to do something simpler. This is crazy. And so she said, let's just make a film, you know? And she says, and then she forced me into it, I have to admit, okay, because I really love immersion, for somebody to walk into the animation, not just to sit and look at it over there, but for it to be all around you, underneath you. And I even had a piece where you had to catch the animations falling from the ceiling, you know, so the projector was pointing down and you had the screen and you had to walk around and catch it. So she forced me to do a single channel piece because for my birthday she gave me a composition that she had made in 3 parts. She says, I want you to animate to this. And now you have to do it because it's your birthday present. And it took me a little while, you know, and then finally when I did, that piece has been screened at over 50 festivals. So it was highly successful. And she says, Bonnie, we've got to do more of these. So, you know, that's how it started.
Could you repeat the question again? Sorry.
I was just thinking that I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, because I'm really enjoying the story.
Young people displaying in galleries, is it difficult?
Yes, I was just thinking, but maybe if you don't have the experience with the, well, in Latvia and in Eastern Europe, you have to have a name to get into a gallery, basically,
Okay.
and you have to already have some certain reputation.
Yeah.
But as I see film world and film festivals, especially short films, that it's more democratic,
Yeah.
and I believe it's more honest, and in a way it's closer to the true arts.
Yeah.
So could you please I don't know.
Talk about the festival. Talk about why I go to.
How easy to get into galleries or festivals?
Okay. I don't know. I actually sometimes I'm not very good artist. I don't know in China because they have a lot of animation artists. Some is very successful. Like my friend Haiyang Wang was here last year. He printing and sells some of his printing. And another artist, his name is Sun Xun. He have a lot of experimental film around the world. I think they are very successful in the gallery and both in the festival. But for me, I don't know because in my opinion, I think I'm young. I go festival because I hope to see something more. Every time I just enjoy my holiday and the jewelry, go to festival, meet people, and it's very funny that because in China, when I'm in Beijing, some people is very rude to me because some people they are not very friendly. But when I'm in the festival, because people love animation, people love arts, have the same point about arts or something like that, we can make a lot of friends here. And sometimes the friend will invite me to his city, or I sleep in a lot of festivals apartment. And I'm really enjoying this kind of life. It's like if I go around the world and I found out I have a lot of friends and I have a lot of apartment and save a lot of money, and so the festival for me is just like a different kind of life to open my eyes and see more people. So maybe in the future I will care about, maybe I should be famous artist or famous filmmaker. I don't know. Maybe in the future I will care about the money. But right now I'm very enjoying this kind of life. It's very free and just enjoying the holiday everywhere. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I agree up with you to say that it's way easier to show your short film than rather than be in a gallery when you haven't done anything as an artist yet. I guess art prizes would give you an opportunity to have a little bit of notoriety, and then to have you work seen by curators, and then that's how it goes. yeah, it's true that I guess it's hard to without having any contact or any institution behind you to really get in the art world. Whereas in film, it's true that I don't like. There's so many unknown filmmakers that are shown in many festivals. That's for sure not what people are looking at. For funding, I guess it's still a bit important to have. I think it's easy in France, for instance, to have a funding for your first or your second film, but then to keep having the funding going all along your career, then you need to have worked for the first ones. I think that's still, normal.
Okay, so I guess I would like to shift now the questions about film. Let's say that now we're talking about only the film festivals, and I was wondering, how do you feel being programmed in a program with other films? So have you had any bad or good experiences? Because an experimental film, an artist film, actually demands a certain space to the spectator to actually, I don't know, digest it or experience, and he needs some time off. And so basically experimental film programs, if they have too many works in them, they're really hard to watch, and each work that has high artistic values and lots of different ways to see it and demands some intellectual work is actually supposed to be seen standing alone. So, and I think all of your works also deserve this space for me to think about it. So what do you think about that?
Wear a number of different hats. I've also been an international curator of animation shows, and also on the jury of some pretty major animation shows. And so programming is an interesting question because we all have our opinion of what should go with what and how to display the work. And I'll just tell you a couple of situations that I had. One time, I put together an animation show, and we were showing the work in Malaysia. And we were showing a piece. Do you know Dennis Miller? He's an abstract animator. Anyway, we were showing one of his pieces, and most of his work is about 9 minutes long. You know, composers like to do about 9 minutes. I don't know what it is about that. But he's a composer, and about 3 minutes into the film, the audience just started talking. And they were talking to each other throughout the rest of the film. And it was very disturbing for me to see this happen, but they could only handle about 3 minutes of abstraction. And that was the culture, I guess. Other times, I feel that even with myself. And I'm kind of trying to come to grips with what is the length of time that an average human being can sit and watch something that they don't understand or can't really connect to, or that doesn't change. And if you look at early video art, they had a genre called endurance films. Okay, remember the endurance films? Okay, when you're watching for, Vito Alcanci with the microphone in his mouth for 35 minutes, after 3 minutes, you're like, oh, you get disturbed a little bit. So I really think if the artist, if their intent is to push the limits of the audience and get them to squirm in their seat and get them to be a little uncomfortable, then they should definitely utilize this behavior that people have towards abstract or less understandable, less narrative films. But as a young filmmaker, I see people that fall in love with what they're doing, and they don't realize how an audience might react to it. And so their intent might be to display beauty, but really what they're doing, and I notice it in the audience, is maybe they're making people uncomfortable because it's too long for that one part. So getting back to programming, when you've got pieces that are quite challenging, okay, they might get people to be emotionally charged in some way, or bored, or, you know, whatever, and then you put them right next to another piece that's really lively and cartoony, and then you jump back to maybe something that's aesthetically beautiful, and then you go back to something that's intense and dark. Sometimes I come out of a screening and I feel very schizophrenic. I don't know what to feel or think, you know? And yet, if you had all dark films, one after another, I think that would be too much, you know? And then I begin to start comparing them together in a way that, comparing them with each other, that I wouldn't really normally do if you put too many of the same kind. But I do think, as a judge that sat and watched a lot of films, I do think it's important to have some sort of grouping. Because when the screening is too diverse, and I'm trying to judge this, and I have experimental film all the way to cartoon animation, and then abstract animation and narrative animation, and all of these things put into one program, how do I choose? How do I select?
I think it's also the question of how do you actually, turn the button. Now I will watch a cartoony animation. Okay, now I have part of second, so now I'm watching something experimental, and your perception mechanism is just freaking out. That's my experience.
Yeah.
But I think it's a question of good programming, I guess, if you can program well experimental film.
If your film festival is large enough, okay, you take a look at something like Ottawa. Every single thing shown there is animation. There's no experimental film or narrative film, or, you know, it's just animation. Then it gives you the ability to have an abstract screening. Everything's abstract, but they're very different. You know, like Punta Irie in Iceland in January, everything was lines and dots. And it was 3 days of screening of lines and dots. And it was amazing how diverse the films were, you know? So larger festivals have the advantage of being able to program things in a more sort of unified way, I would say. But smaller festivals combine a wider range of pieces together, I think, in their screenings.
Okay. Program. For me, I actually I have no idea about program because I agree. How to say I don't. But for my film, I always I have the same problem about thinking how long could be, because my film recycled we have 500,000 photos, so maybe we can make 1 hour like noise, but it's very boring in the cinema. So for my film, maybe it's a little far from the question. It's just like for my film, if I make the short film for the cinema, I think maybe 5 or 6 minutes or 8 minutes is enough for people to got my idea. But I try to do some performance in the future, just like people can control the video, and maybe they'll have some DJ or live music performance, can do the noise music together. Then we can play for 1 hour, and you can, audience can enjoy the show and see people play there and see some different feedback. It could be interesting. So I'm thinking about this when I do the recycled. But I'm very open. I think I do the installation of recycled in the gallery, in the exhibition in Holland Animation Festival, and I hope I could do the performance in the future in some gallery or some music festival also. So I think if I do a work, I hope I could show it to people in different places. It's more interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I used to think that too much diversity in a program is bad and is losing our mind. But once I saw my film in a program that where it was all the film more or less the same theme and it was horrible. I really like that's a moment I really dislike my film the most, I think, and also I guess the other ones as well. I was just seeing too many similarities, but in the bad way. It was more pulling them down, and for me the best setting it had was to be shown actually before a feature film. And I think this should be more developed, to show short films, one short film before feature film in normal program, and to also bring short films more to the public that would not go necessarily to film festivals. Not so many people go to short film festival if they are not already interested in films, and so I think this should be developed more. And also another question is first to find a good rhythm for a program, and also the time that is between each films makes a lot of difference. Like if you need to have a little bit of time to breathe between each film, maybe just introducing each film before, something like that can clean up. It's like washing the dishes before to eat something new or something like that. When it's with the same programmation with different rhythm in between, can change a lot of perception in my point of view.
So I guess we can all agree that film festivals are really democratic, and it's great to be screened in film festivals as a filmmaker. And I guess it's not that important anymore for film festivals as well, whether you present yourself as an artist or a filmmaker. It doesn't matter for them to select your film. But it's really hard for artist film to be screened in the film festival as well. So, but I guess somehow they will solve it with good programming in a way. Yeah. Well, so let's hope for better future for programming.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you.